Hello, this is Howard the Teaserking coming to you with this week's picks. We're going to do week 9 of college first. And I got so many plays. This is going to be a great week. My lock is in the pro, but I have very many strong plays in college. Lately I've been kind of getting where I'll have one team and multiple teasers, and that team's losing, and it's kind of hurting, but I'm picking a lot of winners. So this week I'm just going to try to play more teams. I'll hit more games, but I won't have as many in multiple teasers. I will in the pros, but in college I've been like, I'll have Alabama in a lock. I'll play them in 3 teasers. Alabama lost, and I'll lose 3 teasers, but I'll hit the other games. So I'm just going to keep to my strength, picking a lot of winners. Maybe 1 or 2 in multiple ones. There's so many. I mean, I've got good trends now. A lot of the trends have been getting busted. A lot of the 90% trends. So it's been kind of a strange year like that. But now I have the 2014 trends pretty much 6-7 games in now. And, it's hard in the beginning because when these teams play these, the good team plays the bad. Oklahoma will play Louisiana Tech, or they'll play Southern Miss. You really can't get a judge on them until they start playing Texas and Kansas State and everything. So now I have a better grasp on it. So here we go. We'll start right off. Old Mississippi State laying 14 to Kentucky. Kentucky just got crushed by LSU last week. They're a decent offensive team, but they were so overmatched by LSU. I like Mississippi State here. They have a similar team to LSU. They killed LSU already, and the fact it's at Kentucky, it won't really matter. I like Old Mississippi State laying the 8. They beat Auburn by 15. If you can do that, you're a real good team. I just think there's too much Dak Prescott. I think their defense is too strong. I just see them. They're on a roll right now, and I'm going to go with them. I think Kentucky maybe loses by 25 points. We're laying 8 here. Take Mississippi State, lay the 8. Pitt against Georgia Tech. Now, I haven't played a lot of ACC because the teams are usually kind of lousy. I like this game going against Pitt. Pitt go against this year's 7-0. Georgia Tech beat them last year. Pitt's not a dominant team, and I just see Georgia Tech. Trends are Georgia Tech. Trends are going against Pitt. I like the dog here. It takes Georgia Tech at 9.5. I think Georgia Tech wins the game. This is what I look for, is a strong dog against a weak favorite, and that's what we have here. So I'll take Georgia Tech in the 9.5. Navy laying 8.5 to San Jose State. Navy beat them. They put up 50-60 points on them last year, and that's when San Jose State had a good quarterback and a much better team. Navy's at home. You get it under 3. Take the Navy. Lay the 2.5, 3 points. Navy should just dominate them and run up and down the field on them. San Jose State doesn't have the quarterback it had last year, and David fails. So I look at Navy to win. They'll cover the 3. They'll probably win by double digits here. I mean, last year they beat them at San Jose State. I think they beat them like 60-53 or some really high score, but San Jose State couldn't cover them last year, and they're not going to be able to cover them this year. Excuse me, I got a little cold, and I just see that San Jose State's just weak this year. They barely beat Wyoming last week. I just don't see it. I think the Navy's good here. Arkansas is laying 26 to UAB. I think that number's too high. I'm not going to take UAB, but I'm not going to take Arkansas. I know that spread jumped 5 or 6 points, but I know Arkansas has been looking for a win, but UAB can score some points. Um, Normally, this is the play I like: is the SEC team playing the weaker, conference team. This is whatever Conference USA now. It's what, the All-American Conference or whatever. UAB can score some points. Arkansas will run it down their throat, but I just think it's a little too high. I think Arkansas wins easily by 14-20. But I just don't like Arkansas that much, and UAB can score, so just beware of that game. But I think Arkansas gets the win, but it's not an SEC win like they're all hoping for some reason. I think TCU laying 23 to Texas Tech's too big of a number. Texas Tech can score. TCU scores a lot, but it's different. When you're laying 23, there's a different energy than when you're laying 3 and you win by 30 like they did against Oak State last week. When you go in laying 23 in a conference and Texas Tech can score, it's too big of a number here. Just be careful. I don't like these real big numbers in a conference. It's different. Arkansas is playing UAB, who's out of conference, who's a weaker team. But TCU, Texas Tech's a bet against team, and TCU's a bet team this year, but I don't like that spread. I'll give you an example. I was in Vegas last weekend, and I was able to bet Sunday night. I went to the Venetian. If you're ever there, Caesars doesn't put the lines up right away. They don't put them up till Monday or Tuesday. But if you go to the Wynn or the Venetian, well, I don't even know. I know the Wynn. I know the Wynn's there Monday, maybe Sunday night, but Monday. But I know the Venetian for sure because that's where I made the bets. And if you get these opening lines, you can get some steals. I'll give you an example of one game I bet. I took Dallas minus 8.5 with Baltimore plus 3. I took them already, and now you see the line. Dallas is 9.5, 10. Baltimore is now a 1-point favorite. But because I was there and I could bet it Sunday night, I got so many extra points. I got Dallas under 3, and I got Baltimore plus 9 in a game where they're now, if you took them, you get plus 5 or plus 6. So you've got to shop for the lines. But the point is that if you can catch it early, you get a huge advantage. Because the lines comes out. Everybody thinks the lines are so perfect, and they're not. It's just finding the line that's off. So let's see. It's just a little point of try to get the best line for the spread. Alabama lays 18 to Tennessee. Now, this is the point I was trying to make. You watch a game last week, Ole Miss over Kentucky, and LSU Kentucky, and LSU wins, 50-something to 3 or whatever. They just blew them out. It was a joke. And what happens is people don't realize or remember that LSU got their butt kicked by Mississippi State, and they got their butt kicked by Auburn. Now Auburn beat them 41-7. But what do people remember? Oh, they beat Kentucky. And this is where the whole theory comes in. You can't look at it like that. You've got to look at the game that they're playing, not, oh, they killed Kentucky, so therefore they're going to beat Ole Miss. Or Auburn killed LSU, therefore Auburn's going to kill whoever. Or, you can't look at it like that. You've got to look at each game, each matchup individually. So here you got Alabama laying 18 to Tennessee. And which Alabama team shows up? The one that lost to Ole Miss? The one that beat Arkansas 14-13? Or the one that beat Texas A&M, who has no defense, 59-0? So initially you go and say, well, all I can remember is Alabama last week. I don't remember Alabama 2 weeks ago barely beating a weak Arkansas team 14-13. So this is the problem with most gamblers, is all they do is look at the last week, not the whole picture. Alabama laying 18 is a very weak road favorite. In other words, I think the last 10, if you bet against Alabama, you're 9-1. Betting against Alabama is a road favorite. Arkansas, they were a road favorite. They won as a home favorite over a weak A&M team, who everybody thought was so good because they beat South Carolina. So Tennessee is not that bad. They played Georgia to the wire. They lost to Florida close. They should have beat Florida. They're not that bad of a team. They're okay. I think they'll give Alabama more of a battle than we think. I think the spread's way too high. I think 18 points is too high. Don't listen to these clowns on TV. Oh, Alabama, they're the #1 team. No, they're definitely in the playoffs. Oh, they're the best one-loss team there is. I mean, it's like, seriously, they lost to Mississippi. They barely beat Arkansas. If they're that great a team, now look what Georgia did at Arkansas. Georgia beat them by 30 points. Why in God's name would you think that all of a sudden Alabama's this great team because they beat a weak defensive A&M team 59-0? And this is my whole point here. So I don't like Alabama. I think they're laying 18s, way too many. I would only bet this game if I could get them under 7. The spread was 12, 12.5. This is way too high. I don't know about playing Tennessee here, but Tennessee is going to give them a game, that's for sure. I mean, Tennessee's not strong enough to take plus the 24, but I'd rather take the 24 than lay the 12 here. I think Tennessee will play them relatively close. My favorite, this was going to be the lock of the year had it been a normal spread. Michigan playing Michigan State. Had Michigan State been normal, and Michigan played any type of game, this spread would have been Michigan State laying 7, 8 points. And this would have been the lock of the year. I would have mortgaged the house to bet on Michigan State laying 1 or 2 points. I mean, clear-cut domination here. However, the spread, I can't believe, is so freaking high, 17 points. They're laying 17. I even have here written down lock. This is going to be my lock right here. Michigan State was going to be my lock. But at 17, cutting it down to 6 to 11, it's very hard to lock that. However, Michigan is terrible. Their problem is quarterback. They have no quarterback. He will turn it over at least 3 times tomorrow. I played Michigan State in Vegas, and I've got him a couple times. I've been very good with Michigan State. Won them against Oregon. The only loss is against Purdue. And the problem I'm having in college is I'm undervaluing these teams. Purdue loses to Central Michigan, so I automatically say Purdue's terrible. Here comes Notre Dame. I lock Notre Dame, and all of a sudden Purdue's not that bad. Then I play Michigan State against them, and all of a sudden Purdue gives them a little bit of a game, and I go, Purdue's not so bad. And then I look at the trend now, and Purdue's 6-1 against the number this year in a teaser. So all of a sudden, the team that I thought was very weak is not very weak, or is not as weak as they're leading on to be. And this has been my problem with the college this year, is when I start looking and I rank the team strong and weak, and I want to bet against the weak and play the strong, I'm getting full. Alabama's not as strong as I thought they were. Purdue's not as weak, even though they lost to Central Michigan at home by 35 points. They're not that bad of a team. So, lessons learned. Michigan is terrible. Their quarterback play is terrible. Their coach is probably the worst coach in Division I college football. I was listening to a radio show with him earlier the week. Guy asked him a question. I don't know what he answered. I'm listening, and he's just rumbling on about nothing. One of the worst coaches I've ever seen. If Michigan was smart, they would go after the Mississippi coach or the Mississippi State coach or the TCU coach. This is the 3 coaches that Michigan should be going after and targeting. I don't get why they have Brady Hoke. He's terrible. The quarterback plays terrible. I mean, Gardner was so bad he was wide receiver. Now, if he was a great quarterback, wouldn't they have had him at quarterback? Wouldn't he have beaten out Denard Robinson, who was a terrible quarterback? He was a decent running back, but he couldn't read a defense. Gardner's the same way. This state team's going to just... Calhoun, the All-American, #1 draft pick, defensive end, is going to have a field day. They're going to be in the backfield all day. Michigan with at least 3 turnovers. Connor Cook looks good. Their running back looks great. I mean, you go down to the 3rd or 4th running backs. I mean, last week against Indiana, third string, fourth string running backs running 70 yards for a touchdown. I mean, forget about it. Michigan's defense is average, not very good. Yeah, they beat Penn State, who has no offense. We'll get to them later. Just love Michigan State here. Lay the 11. As long as you get it under 14. But I don't see the line moving on the game. Still 17 because Michigan's too popular. The spread's a little bit high. I initially thought the spread last week, I marked it as minus 14. I was hoping to get it under 10. So, again, because of the spread, you lose strength in the games. Had the line been 7, it would have been a triple lock. It would have been the lock of the year. I'd have put it with every team I could have. As the line moves up, the confidence level moves down because now they got a. Before it's just a win. Like I locked Michigan State against Nebraska because they're only laying 7. I cut it to 1. I knew they'd win the game. It got close at the end. It should have, but they blew them out and they dominated the game, the whole game. I knew State would win. Same thing here. You know they'll win. They'll win by at least 3 touchdowns. But because the spread's so high, you gotta, it could be an injury, it could be a turnover. So you gotta punt return something where the game could get a little closer than it should. But I don't see it. I see 37-10. But again, I can't lock it because of the number. It's just too high. Or I don't see Michigan as this SMU team or this Eastern Michigan, who are the worst teams in the country. So therefore, I got to be careful with it. But I do love Michigan State. Lay the 11 here, and go from there. Here's an easy one. Colorado State laying 18.5 to Wyoming. Take Colorado State. They cover every week. They beat a good Utah State team. They got a very good quarterback, and they score a lot, and they cover a lot. Lay the 12.5 with Colorado State. Ole Miss laying 3.5 to LSU. I love Ole Miss here. Here's a game where everybody's looking at LSU Kentucky, which was why I said that game. They don't remember LSU got killed by Auburn. They don't remember that LSU got killed by Mississippi State. They scored a little at the end to make it close, but they were down 20, 30 points at home to Mississippi State. Ole Miss is better than old Mississippi State. I know, I like calling them Ole Miss, old Mississippi State. This spread is a joke. This spread should be at least 7 points, if not 10 points. LSU is nowhere near LSU. Yeah, they beat Kentucky, which is the only... Again, everybody just remembers, oh, they're going to play Kentucky again. No. They're playing Ole Miss this week. They're playing a team with a great defense, #1 in the country. They're playing a team with a great quarterback, good receivers, well-balanced, well-coached. 3.5 is a joke. Take Ole Miss plus the 2.5. They'll win by 14 or more. Again, this is not a very good LSU team, and they're not playing Kentucky this week. They're playing Ole Miss. And Ole Miss has the defense to win on the road. I like Ole Miss in the points. USC, Utah. USC is even or laying 1. If you can get laying 1.5, you take Utah plus 7.5 hard. Otherwise, take Utah plus the 7. Utah will win this game straight out at home. USC is okay, but Utah's very underrated here, as you can see. Where the Ole Miss should be 7 against LSU, because LSU's being overrated here because of the Kentucky game. Utah's being underrated. Utah's blown out a few teams, and they're not getting any credit. USC, they're on the road. They barely beat Arizona. Utah's better than Arizona. This Utah team is outstanding. The trends are on Utah. Utah should probably be the favorite in this game by 3. So you're basically getting the favorite plus 7. So take Utah on the points. Marshall laying 28 to Florida Atlantic. The spread's a bit high. I thought it'd be 21, or at least I was hoping for that. Marshall's covered every week. They're very explosive. Florida Atlantic is just not in the same league. Marshall needs to keep winning. They're undefeated, and they just are a scoring machine. Take Marshall, lay it down to 22 there, but that should be good. Oak State laying 1 to West Virginia. This is a very hard game. I mean, my friend last week, Baylor is at West Virginia laying 7, and he goes, why don't we take this game? They're only laying, we could cut them to 1. And I said, Baylor at home and Baylor on the road are 2 different things. West Virginia is a very good home dog. They played Alabama and they played Oklahoma very tough at home, and Alabama on the road they played very tough. And against Baylor, they're going to move it and they're going to keep it close. I made the mistake of playing the game over. The last two had went over 120 points. And the over-under I ended up betting was, I took over 74. And I saw 44 at half, and I was very comfortable that they're going to score another 60 points in that game. So I was really shocked that Baylor only scored 7 in the second half. But with that said, that's the key here. Is Baylor goes on the road as the road favorite against West Virginia, and that's why you don't lay the 1. That's why I went over, because Baylor on the road is different. Well, here West Virginia now is a road dog against Oklahoma State. It's the same thought. Oh, I get West Virginia at 7, which seems like a good bet. Now Oklahoma State's struggling, but they're pretty good at home. West Virginia, I think, it's a tough one. It's not as obvious as you think West Virginia at 7. Maybe it is, but Oklahoma State's well coached. They have good talent. I just see them staying in there. So, it's a tough one to call, but I don't want to start going against Oak State at home. West Virginia is only a 7-point dog. Ohio State laying 14 to Penn State. This is a joke. Taking Ohio State laying 8. They don't even have to win by 10. Penn State has no offense. They couldn't score in Michigan. They have a decent defense. The way Ohio State's playing, forget about it. This was very close to being a lock. But I looked at Ohio State's schedule, and they haven't really beaten anybody. The best team they beat is Maryland and Navy. They played Virginia Tech and lost to Virginia Tech on the turnovers. I don't see Penn State staying in the game. I think Ohio State blows them out, but at this point, I like them strong, but I don't love them. So it's not a lock, but I do like Ohio State only laying 8. Looks like a very strong game. And I think we touched on them. I'll give you one more. Virginia's laying 7 to North Carolina. Now Virginia is 7-0 versus the spread this year, but most of them have been they were a dog to BYU, they were a dog to UCLA, and they lost close. Are they really that good, or just big numbers? Here you have them at home, laying 7. So I looked, the last 2 years North Carolina wins the game. Now Virginia wasn't that good the last 2 years. They've got a little bit better. But I don't see them blowing out North Carolina, a team that scored 45 points or 50 points on Georgia Tech last week. So they got their offense going. They got the Southern Miss coach who was really good, Fedora. And he's a good offensive mind, and he scores a lot. And I don't see Virginia blowing them out. You got Virginia laying 7, you take 13 with North Carolina. That's a good bet. It's a very strong play. It's a very strong dog. Virginia probably wins by 2 or 3 because they've been covering and they've been playing well. But I don't see North Carolina at 13. They could easily win the game. That's what I'm looking for, the dog. I don't want a dog that, geez, I think they'll stay close. In other words, Ohio State, Penn State, I don't want Penn State in 20 and saying, I hope they can stay close. They have no chance of winning. I doubt they can win with the 10, but boy, they got a decent defense and no offense. So I'm going to take Penn State in the 20. And maybe they'll stay close. I mean, that's not how you bet. That's not the point. You bet based on who's the stronger team. Live dogs, weak favorites. You got a live dog in North Carolina. You got a live dog in Georgia Tech. By live dog, they can win the game. They're just as strong a team. Do you want, you want Michigan in 23 against Michigan State? Anybody? Does anybody want Michigan at 23 against Michigan? Do you think they have a chance of keeping the game within 23? If you do, bet them. Good luck. You're going against the state defense and a great offense versus a team with no offense, no quarterback, 3 or 4 turnovers, and an average defense. And this is the point of betting. And unless you think the dog's going to win, you don't take the dog. You stay away from the favorite if the favorite's too strong. An example, Stanford laying 13.5 to Oregon State. That spread's too high. Stanford's not a very good team. They're not covering a lot. Oregon State's pretty decent. But I don't think Oregon State can win the game. Utah beat them last week or 2 weeks ago. So this is a game I stay away from because I don't trust Oregon State as a dog. because I don't think they can win. Stanford, I think, is laying too many. So I'm in no man's land. I don't want to take Stanford laying 7.5. I think Oregon State competes with them, but I don't think Oregon State can win, so therefore I'm not going to take the 19. And that's really how you look at teasers. You say, all right, okay, well, let's look at the, we'll use the Ohio State game. I mean, Ohio State laying 14. You want Penn State 20 against that offense. Do you? Can Penn State find the weakness in Ohio State's defense with the secondary? Do you really want Penn State with no quarterback and no offense? You're going to trust them getting 20 points. Or do you take Ohio State -8? Which one looks better? And that's what you do. I mean, if you don't like Penn State 20, then you got to love Ohio State laying 8. I mean, that's the point. The explosive team. Ohio State's a great dog. Now, if Ohio State was playing, I don't know, if they were playing Stanford, Stanford was laying 10 to Ohio State, I'd be walking to Vegas to bet that one. I mean, that's what you're looking for, is that live dog. And I haven't been getting that too often this year. I've been betting against some weak teams that aren't that weak, and the strong teams, are okay that I can't trust. Normally, I'd have been all over Notre Dame last week. I liked Florida State laying 3.5. The trends were there. I didn't bet the game because I couldn't trust either side. I didn't know Notre Dame wouldn't get blown out. Florida State hasn't been blown out anybody. But Florida State at home was the trend. They were a great home favorite, and they were laying 9.5 down to 3.5. So as it turned out, either team won. The play was probably Notre Dame, but I don't know. I mean, I thought I could trust them. But I was to Florida State a little bit, that this was their one game they're focusing on. They're at home, and they're going to blow them out. They're going to play Florida State football. But as you can see, they're just not the same team as last year. And that's another problem this year, is the teams last year are just not as strong as they were. You've got new teams like Ole Miss and Mississippi State. The trends aren't there, and you don't know what to do because you don't have that trend. That's how I base my betting. That's how I win. That's how I'm successful, is my trends. Not only, but mostly the trends and the quarterbacks and the coaches. And so when new teams come alive, that's what happens to you. So anyway, those are your picks. Good luck. I feel very comfortable with these picks based on the trends, based on who they're playing. I think they'll do fine. Looking for very big ones. I did not lock a college. I might lock Ohio State, but I haven't thought. I'm not quite sure. But that could be one. And again, I wanted to lock Michigan State. That spread's just a little too high for me. Marshall, I wanted to lock. Again, that 28's a little bit high on me. And Utah State, I wanted to lock against UNLV. But again, the problem was the two quarterbacks on Utah State are out. Chucky Keaton's out, and his replacement, who's really good, he's out. So now I got him against a weak UNLV team, and I can't bet them because their quarterbacks are out. That's the type of year it is. So stick with the live dogs. Carolina, Georgia Tech, stick with the strength. Michigan State, Mississippi, Mississippi State, Colorado State, Ohio State. Those are your teams. That's what you're looking for. This should be a very big week, and we're getting this train going. All right, go to the site www.teaserking.com. Get your college and your pro. I would buy everything this week. It's very, very strong. Again, it should be a real big week now. A lot of the trends are out. I've got a better feel on the Mississippi State going against LSU, and just going to roll this week. Okay, everybody, if you have any questions, please email me, comment. Again, www.teaserking.com. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Good luck.